Did you know that Venom has a human son who inherited some symbiote stuff from his dad, Eddie Brock? But first, we already know Venom himself is like an orphan symbiote who originated from Knull, the master of all symbiotes. So we can say that Knull is a grandfather of sorts. And what happens when grandpas are desperate to claim their grandchildren? Stick around, because in this video, we'll be discussing how Venom killed the symbiote god and claimed the throne. Eddie Brock was one of the few human beings on Earth who could sense that Knull was coming. Knull had charted a path of destruction with his army of symbiotes on the way to conquering the Earth. So Eddie initiated a call to all of Earth's mightiest heroes. Afterwards, he went to check on his son, who was asleep when Eddie got home. Dylan wakes up and says he can feel Knull's approaching too. Down at the Avengers Mountain, you have Tony and some others monitoring the events as they are about to transpire. We can trust Tony to have booby-trapped the whole Earth, and so the Avengers dare the symbiote army to try their luck. Before long, a wave of symbiote soldiers loyal to Knull have started to appear in space. They come into contact with the bombs protecting the Earth's stratosphere and blow up. Mind you, symbiotes are averse to fire, and Tony begins to congratulate himself prematurely. But this is only the first wave of symbiotes, more will follow. Eddie now sees that they have arrived and takes his son to an underground bunker for his safety. Dylan complains that he can fight too, given his inherited powers and all, but Eddie insists, and so he agrees to sit tight. The Avengers have since started to evacuate the city, and Storm from the X-Men has been helping keep the symbiotes at bay with fire generated from her thunderbolts. But where is the Venom itself? Rest assured, he had a trick up his slimy sleeves. Venom literally went underground in search of Carnage's former throne. It was somewhere in the sewer systems, and with it, he could hack into the hive of all the symbiotes and perhaps gain the advantage. But in reality, this gamble could very well go sideways. Knull might somehow discover what they were doing and unleash grave repercussions. Eddie's original plan was to... he didn't really have a grand plan that involved shutting down the hive, for instance. But upon sitting on the old throne and allowing it to consume his consciousness, he finds something else. He discovers that Knull has overtaken the mighty Celestials. Soon enough, Knull himself makes his presence known as he emerges from the chest of a former Celestial. Apparently, his symbiote stuff was all over the unfortunate Celestial in question. The first person Knull asked about was Eddie Brock, whom he sorta knew by name. As Earth's heroes looked up in awe and fear, they knew only one hero among them could take on Knull. And so, out of nowhere, the Sentry appeared to try to save the day, or at least the reputation of Earth's heroes, who were already knocking their knees. But before you could say Jack Robinson, Knull grabbed Sentry and tore him into two like a piece of toilet paper. The two halves of the Sentry's broken body started the long fall back to Earth, but Knull beat the corpse to it and engaged the heroes of New York with rekindled content. Suddenly, the ground turned to symbiotic muck, threatening to consume them all. In the midst of the chaos, only Spider-Man's quick reflexes were able to save him from the symbiote-laden ground. The rest of the heroes were quickly consumed by the symbiotic sludge. What happened afterwards was quite unimaginable. Knull started to spread until he completely engulfed the entire Earth with his symbiotic material. Knull eventually finds Eddie as he tries to hack his way into the hive, but Dwayne is of more interest to Knull than Eddie. Knull takes back the Venom symbiote and drops Eddie from the top of the Empire State Building. Eddie lands on the concrete with a splat. Spider-Man is close by to try to save him. Just then, the symbiote-infected Avengers attack Spider-Man, but the Human Torch saves them just in time. Spider-Man moves Eddie to the Fantastic Four's headquarters. The situation with Eddie is almost hopeless, just as Spider-Man now knows about Dylan and goes over to the bunker to see him. Spidey's body language tells Dylan all he needs to know about his father. Whatever heroes were left, like Namor or Tony, they were clueless as to how to defeat Knull. Meanwhile, Tony had extracted a little bit of symbiote with the hope that it could help heal Eddie. But Eddie's body reacted badly, and Dylan showed his powers in a desperate move to save his father. But it was too late, and the heart monitor flatlined. On the flip side, Tony and Reed Richards were already thinking ahead about their chances of using Dylan. Afterwards, Spidey encourages Dylan to join the fight, and for the first time, Knull sees Dylan and is glad because Dylan is who he came for. Knull tries to grab Dylan, but Thor arrives in the nick of time to protect him. Dylan's powers have a way of atomically breaking down the symbiotes, so that is exactly what Dylan focuses on as Thor guards him from Knull. But Knull doesn't like what he is seeing, so he comes down to Earth and challenges Thor. They clash in an epic battle, but Thor gets distracted and subsequently gets stabbed from behind with one of those black hand blades. Thor dies, and so Iron Man steps up to continue the fight from there. Iron Man tries to hack the hive with an improved version of his symbiote Vine virus. It works, just as there are more reinforcements heading their way in the personage of the Silver Surfer. Dylan Brock, having just moments ago realized the true ferocity of the light and power inside him, stands alone, surrounded by the demon heads of a symbiotic shield. A voice reaches out to him, as Knull is about to finalize the ritual of taking over Dylan, who represents his one true nemesis. Another voice also tells Dylan that he can use his powers to get into the symbiote hive. It's like the scenario of a demon and an angel on both of Dylan's soldiers. Just then, Knull speaks up and tries to convince Dylan that his intentions are honorable. Knull puts out a hand as if to receive Dylan, but Dylan grabs it and squeezes. Knull screams in pain and his powers are weakened. In the same vein, a few of those trapped into the symbiotic hold are released, including the heroes who were swallowed by the symbiote earlier. Apparently, Dylan was the master key all along. So Thor, Storm, Doctor Strange, and Namor work together to finish off the symbiote horde. Let's just say that with their powers combined, water and electrical energy can do wonders. In that instant, when Dylan grabs Knull's arm, Earth's heroes are able to deal a big blow to his controlling influence. Eventually, Knull wrests his hand free from Dylan's grip and grabs him by the neck. But then comes Jean Grey, and she finds a way to get into the mind of Knull. She wants to know his weakness. In her psychic vision, she sees how and when it all started for Knull, but she also sees another entity that is the exact opposite of Knull and his symbiotes. It's called the Enigma Force, and no one can appreciate this discovery more than Reed Richards, as the scientist which he is. The Enigma Force is ushered in by none other than the Silver Surfer, and it does its thing by eradicating the remnants of the symbiotes around the world. Afterwards, it finally attempts to bring Eddie Brock back to life. The Surfer has in fact arrived to take the battle to Knull, who growls like he's going to enjoy fighting the Silver Surfer. The two are familiar with each other, having engaged in combat before. Knull acknowledges the Silver Surfer's little helper in the form of the Enigma Force, but he doesn't care about that right now. All he wants to do is fight the Silver Surfer to the death. The Silver Surfer's board dissolves into a menacing blade. Knull gets his own ugly blade too, as he wishes the Silver Surfer a noble death. But Knull is wrong about his chances of defeating the Silver Surfer. The Surfer knows it, and he smiles because he has a trick up his sleeve. Just then, Earth's mightiest heroes, who have been freed from the symbiote's hold, now join the fight, and Knull had since lost the advantage of his army of symbiote soldiers. Essentially, he is screwed from here on out. Earth's heroes charge forward to finish Knull off, and at that moment, we guess he was wishing he never came around to bother Earthlings or to claim Dylan. But then, a flash of lightning strikes between Earth's heroes and Knull. Who is it that dares to come between Knull and the beating of his life? Surprise, it's Eddie Brock in a sparkling version of Venom. The Enigma Force is really looking good on Eddie, as it shines with the brightness of the universe. Eddie now grabs Thor's hammer in one hand and the Silver Surfer's blade in the other, and so it's on. He tells the heroes to stay around and protect the innocent as he moves to engage with Knull. Strangely enough, Venom has been able to merge Thor's hammer and the Silver Surfer's blade into an all-powerful cosmic weapon. Upon the first strike of this weapon on Knull's person, he is so hurt that he tries to run for his life, but Venom bears down on him. Some leftover dragon symbiote dragons try to protect Knull, but Venom slices through them easily. A celestial under Knull's symbiotic control also comes down from the sky to protect Knull, but gets decapitated too. Eddie then returns to Knull and thrusts the cosmic axe into his chest, not once, but twice. Clearly that's not enough, so Eddie subsequently flies close enough to the sun and tosses Knull into it, and this spells the end of all symbiotic life forms under Knull's control, so the Earth is finally rid of symbiotes, except for Venom and Dylan's. By now, the Enigma Force has left Venom, and he has become his old, ugly, annoying self. And since Dylan decimated the Hive, he becomes its new guardian, or overlord if you like.